Hi, I'm Tisha, and this channel is dedicated to helping you figure out the best nutrition and eating strategy for you so that you can achieve a vibrantly healthy body, balanced mind, and a full soul. I also want to teach you about yoga, meditation, pranayama, and other mind-body therapies, all of which I truly believe can help you create your happiest life and self. So now, let's jump to today's topic. Hi there, and happy Video Monday. This is Tisha Mahar. Today, I want to have a discussion with you guys about insulin resistance, because this seems to be a topic that a lot of people are quite confused about. So in my private Facebook group, Tisha's group, you're welcome to join the tribe, a lot of people have been talking about this, and they've been wondering and asking things like, what is insulin resistance? How do I know if I have it? And one person was talking about belly fat storage that they've developed, and they're wondering if that means that they're insulin resistant. So today, I hope I can make this confusing topic a little bit easier for you to understand. So insulin is a hormone that is released in the body every time that we eat. It doesn't matter what we eat, we release insulin. However, if we eat a lot of food at once, or if we eat a lot of carbohydrate/sugar at once, the body releases more insulin than it would if you were to have eaten a meal that was less sugary, less carby, and a little bit smaller, for example. So, if a person eats copious amounts of sugar and carbohydrate on a regular basis for a long enough period of time, what can happen is the cells of the body become less responsive to that insulin release. And when the cells stop responding to that message of the insulin, you become insulin resistant. Again, all foods cause insulin to be released into the body, but carbohydrate-rich foods, bread, rice, grains, sugars of all kinds, these cause more of a release. So we have to eat no matter what, and we need to release insulin no matter what. That's a healthy thing. It is not unhealthy to have a response in your body to food being insulin. However, it's about the amount that you are producing. Insulin is a storage hormone. It's very helpful, actually, for a lot of things, including storing nutrients and helping us to build muscle. It's not a bad thing. It's a bad thing if it is stimulated too much, too often, for too long. So hopefully that makes sense. So we can't think that we can just pound sugar all day long and not have some kind of an effect over time. Now, if you're super active, if you're a marathon runner, or you're going to the gym and weight training twice a day, you can get away with consuming more sugar and carbohydrate than somebody who is more sedentary, because you're consuming it and you're using it, you're burning it. It's like leaving the system. But if you're eating sugar all day long and you're not really doing anything, you're sitting at your desk, you're walking maybe, 1,000 steps a day, something like that, eventually you're going to have an issue. Now, you might not become totally insulin resistant, which by the way equals diabetic, but you could be less insulin sensitive. So you don't just become normal, perfect insulin sensitivity to being insulin resistant. There's a process there. So there are all different degrees of insulin sensitivity and resistance. So there's not just insulin sensitive and insulin resistant. There could be a range in there. So there can be people who are becoming insulin resistant, but they're not necessarily diabetic, which is like full-blown resistance, if that makes sense. So what
I want to say also here is that there is a thing, so there's been a huge boom in the nutrition industry surrounding the ketogenic diet. And the ketogenic diet is amazing for a lot of people. I wouldn't say it's necessarily going to be an amazing thing for everybody. The main reason that I believe that is because I personally always want to stress this in my messaging. There is a big difference between something that is fantastic in the research, in the papers, in the testimonials, and your individualized reaction to that thing. So just because Sally, Sue, and Rob had amazing results on the ketogenic diet doesn't mean that you should do it. If when you do it, you have insomnia and anxiety and crazy carb binges. So what matters is your individualized reaction and response. The people who tend to thrive on a ketogenic diet in ketosis are people who are more insulin resistant. That doesn't mean that people who are insulin sensitive can't do the diet or don't do the diet and feel amazing on it. There's a lot of people who do. There are a lot of athletes that are adopting a ketogenic lifestyle, and it's because it can have really amazing benefits actually to performance and to endurance once you've adapted to it. But I'm just saying, generally, the people who really need to do this or who would be wise to adopt this approach are people who are more insulin resistant or who are completely insulin resistant and are diabetic, because their body, their cells are no longer able to handle the sugar. So what happens if you are not insulin resistant, but you're just less sensitive to insulin and you're eating sugar? What happens is you will store body fat. So it's possible for this person who is storing the body fat, it's possible that you have become a little less insulin sensitive. Now, why would that have happened? Well, maybe you've gotten a little bit older. That decreases our insulin sensitivity. Lost my train of thought. But, so why would you maybe become less sensitive to insulin? Age, the loss of muscle, inactivity for too long, not moving enough, sitting around all the time. There are a lot of different things, but the main thing to note is that you can't just say, okay, I've gained fat, so I'm insulin resistant, or I'm not insulin sensitive anymore. There can be so many reasons that you could be storing body fat, especially in the belly. Why do we store belly fat? Just to answer this person's question, cortisol, stress hormones can cause belly fat storage. Changes in hormones as we enter menopause can cause belly fat storage. Just simply eating too much, getting an excess of calories might store there. For me, when I gain weight, it literally is boobs and butt. Mostly, and thighs. Some people gain in their stomach, so your body type could affect that. So I wouldn't jump to conclusions and think that you are insulin resistant is the main thing I want to reassure you about. Now, I will say that if you think you are, if you have good reason to think you are, there are things you can do. Oh, one more thing. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry that I ramble, you guys. There are ways to know for sure if this is driving you crazy and you think you might be. You can do a few different tests. I wrote them down here so I wouldn't forget any of them. A hemoglobin A1C, a fasting glucose, a fasting insulin, and a 2-hour glucose tolerance test. All of these things can verify that, yes, you are insulin resistant. And if that's you, you really want to make some big changes to your lifestyle and diet. I will post those tests in the description box below so that you know exactly how you can be sure about this. But even if you're not insulin resistant and, on your way to diabetes, if you're not pre-diabetic, even if you're not that far along with this, you could have become a little less insulin sensitive. And that's been me. I noticed that since I moved into my 30s, I'm not as insulin sensitive. I can't handle as much carbohydrate as I used to without it becoming fat or fat tissue, or without my blood sugar becoming a little less stable. So that's an indicator to me that I'm not as insulin sensitive as I used to be. So I can either lower my carbohydrates a little bit, or I could keep my carbohydrates high and weight train and build more muscle. The more muscle you have, the more carbohydrates you can get away with, the more insulin sensitive you will be. So that's important to note. If you have a very high body fat percentage in relation to your lean muscle mass, you will likely be less insulin sensitive. So that's important. Youth keeps you very insulin sensitive too. I'm not super young anymore, so it's something I need to be like, I'm good. I don't have insulin resistance by any means, but I can't really eat copious amounts of sugar and not expect it to affect me. Even if I did that for a few days in a row, I would notice some things that I don't want to notice. Okay, so what can you do if you think you might be a little less insulin sensitive? To wrap this up here, a few ideas. Again, exercise, weight training, cut out the processed foods, and especially the sugar, refined sugars that have been added, but also the processed oils. So the trans fats, the canola oil, the soy oil, these are really damaging to the insulin receptors. So the fats, the bad fats, can also cause insulin resistance if overdone. And in general, they have been shown to disrupt signaling, so it's not a good idea. Avoid those. Adopting a lower carb diet would help you, likely, if you think you are not handling carbs and sugar as well, if you are becoming less sensitive to it. You can also do some intermittent fasting. This helps us lower our insulin levels. Simply eating less throughout the day, like let's say you eat 3 times a day versus 7 times a day. That also has been shown in a lot of research to help lower overall insulin levels, because remember, every time you eat, you do boost your insulin up. You do raise insulin. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but if it's too much and you're somebody who likes to eat a lot at each meal, etc., you know what I mean. So these are all things that could be helpful. Less calories overall. If you are eating more than your body needs to fuel itself, that could make you less insulin sensitive as well. You could also try taking a few blood sugar supportive nutrients, like some of my favorites to utilize are chromium, alpha lipoic acid, and berberine. Both of those can really help the body manage carbohydrates and sugar better. Remember, you don't have to go on a low carb diet, but if you think that you are not insulin sensitive anymore, or you're losing some of that sensitivity, I would highly recommend then that you move that beautiful body and build some muscle, and that will definitely help your body handle the glucose and the carbohydrates better. You could also try bringing in those favorite foods of yours that are carby after your workout, because at that time your body is going to be the best able to utilize that incoming sugar and incoming carbohydrate. So, I know I ramble, and I probably should edit this, but I suck at editing. Guys, I really suck at all things technology. I really want to get better because I love doing these videos for you, but I'm the worst. I also really want to film some yoga stuff for you guys, and longer yoga stuff, like a session that's, for example, 30 minutes long, something like that. I just have to make sure that I can upload. If somebody knows, perhaps you can message me in the group, Tisha's group, again on Facebook, and let me know. I hope I can upload something that's 30 minutes long. I just haven't tried, but I'll try. I'll try that soon. And yeah, join my group on Facebook, Tisha's group. Just so you know about me, I'm a yoga teacher and a nutritionist, and I run yoga and nutrition retreats in beautiful exotic places. So I would love for you to join me if you are interested in that. Join the group. We can chat about it there. You can also visit my website. All of my links will be down below. I also do nutritional consulting one-on-one on Skype and or FaceTime or whatever it is that you prefer to use. And I also have a very exciting thing coming up in 2019. So stay tuned for a very exciting announcement that it's something that I feel like I've been building up to doing for my whole career as a health coach. So excited to bring you guys that in the new year. Thank you for watching. I hope this has cleared up some of the confusion around insulin resistance. And I just want to clarify again that you can be less sensitive to insulin without it meaning that you're actually resistant. So if you think you might be insulin resistant, if you have diabetes, pre-diabetes in your family, check the description box below for the list of tests and just get the tests. It's always good to test because then you know for sure and you don't drive yourself frigging crazy, asking Dr. Google. Not a good idea. Have a great week, everybody, and thanks, as always, for your interest in learning from me. Bye. Namaste.